Well, after the last election, the political landscape looked radically different. For the first time, the Democratic Progressive Party has a majority, both in the presidential election, but also in Parliament. And in Parliament, I think that's particularly interesting. In contrast, it's the Kuomintang, the KMT, suffered its worst ever presidential and parliamentary defeats. And the KMT is also very weak and divided after the election. It selected a new chairwoman, Hong Xiu-ju, who was originally the KMT's presidential candidate, but she was replaced. So the DUP doesn't really face a very strong challenge from the KMT. And I think the other thing I would add is that we have a third force in Parliament, the New Power Party, which is the first non-splinter party to enter Taiwan's parliament. So from the perspective of the party system, it looks very, very different from 6 months ago. Well, in her inaugural speech, she spent a lot more time talking about domestic issues than those that we tend to focus on in terms of international relations, cross-strait relations. One major challenge is going to be the economy, and she did talk about economic issues, things like low wages for young people. But I think this is going to be quite a challenge. How do you revive an economy at a time when there are tense relations with China? Her answer is to try to diversify Taiwan's economy, to improve relations with Europe, the US, and also with Southeast Asia, a new Go South policy. But as we discussed in our workshop earlier on this afternoon, there are a lot of challenges to this. I think she's going to focus on a number of progressive social reforms. One area that's being discussed, for example, is on gay marriage. There's a debate about whether Taiwan could be the first Asian country to legalize gay marriage. And there's a lot of pressure on her to deliver on this kind of issue. Although surprisingly, she didn't actually mention that in her inaugural speech. But I think definitely we're expecting a reforming first term, particularly in domestic issues.